but to begin to be a responsible person in life that not only contributes to my being, but maybe can contribute to the existence of others and the well-being of others, and mostly my son, so that I can be some kind of an example to him. And so at one point or another, we've all wrestled with whether we are an alcoholic or an addict, and for the most part, we as substance abusers, we're very arrogant, we're very prideful, and it's hard to admit that we have any wrongdoing in our current predicament that we've gotten ourselves in. And so for years, I found myself coming up with these excuses and justifying for reasons why I am not an addict. And I'll point out different situations that were out of my control, that helped lead me into my choices. And I'll come up for reasons why I'm not as worse off as other addicts or alcoholics, that I'm really not physically addicted, and that I can somewhat function. And I'll come up with all these just sounding justifiable reasons that validate why I am not an addict or an alcoholic. And recently I've come to realize that, man, whether I'm an addict or not, it doesn't really matter. And I heard Jordan Peterson communicating on how he describes his relationship with God. And many people ask him, do you believe in God? And he said something that resonates with me. He said, I act as if God exists. And that struck a nerve with me, that hit something up here where I began thinking, what if instead of fighting that I'm an addict or an alcoholic and saying, I don't believe in that, I don't even like that terminology, I don't even want to align myself with that way of thinking, what if instead I begin to act as if I was an addict? And in doing so, if I begin to act as if I was an addict or an alcoholic, then I could begin to find that way where it would lead me to what I could be. If I begin to act as if I was an addict, it might lead me to the possibility of what could I be. So instead of fighting whether I'm an alcoholic or an addict, it doesn't even matter. What if I just started treating myself as if I were? Because damn it, anytime I use, man, I'll go on a binge and it fucks up my job. It fucks up relationships. It messes up my life. So from the outside, everybody could say, yeah, he's whether he's an addict or an alcoholic, he definitely has a problem when it comes to abusing those substances that leave him behind in life. So the question isn't whether or not I'm an alcoholic or an addict. The question is, what can I do to actually move me ahead in life? So if I begin treating myself, well, hell, what the hell, who cares? But what if I act as if I'm an addict or alcoholic? Then I can begin to do something about the symptoms and consequences of my actions and my use, and therefore I can begin to maybe take control of my life and begin to function, to begin to be a responsible person in life that not only contributes to my being, but maybe can contribute to the existence of others and the well-being of others, and mostly my son, so that I can be some kind of an example to him and actually leave him some kind of legacy, whether physically, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, leave him something that he can grab a hold of that actually improves his life and gives him a foothold with which to stand, instead of seeing his dad as some guy that may go 3 or 6 months good, but then he grabs a hold of something and it turns into a binge. And so the question that we all fight with as addicts, and if you're still in current and present abuse, then you're definitely fighting with that. Well, I'm not an addict or an alcoholic, and I can quit whenever, and all this and that, and all the shit that we've said and heard for years. And for me, who cares? I don't even want to fight with that anymore. I don't want to get caught up in the ego and the pride and the arrogance of if I'm this or if I'm that. What if I just begin to treat myself as if I were an addict? And therefore, it would give me some options to begin to combat that, right? Instead of constraining and restraining myself with all this bullshit and all this fighting mental process that goes along with, well, am I an addict? Am I not an addict? Well, what does that mean? What the fuck? Who cares? What if I just begin treating myself as an addict? Because, hell, when I do use, shit goes wrong. And I may go on a binge and I'll lose my job and I'll lose this and I'll fuck up that relationship. So for all reasons and any definitions, I fit into the category of someone that probably shouldn't use, right? And so who cares about all that? I'm coming to a point where fuck it, I'm just going to treat myself as if I am, and therefore it's going to give me some routes and possibilities so that I can begin to escape that darkness that has permeated my life for so many years. And to me, that is a heroic stance, right? It's who cares what the definition is, or who cares what I want. The heroic side of me is saying, listen, this hasn't worked for me, so I'm just going to say, you know what, fuck it. Let's quit messing with that life. Let's find with something that we can attach ourselves, and so that I can move outside of the shadowy living that I've been imprisoned in for too long. And that's being heroic. That's what it takes to be a hero, to actually stand up and admit, there's something wrong with my life. What can I do to escape it? And in order to collapse that pride and the ego and that arrogance that always wants to fight, whether you're an addict or an alcoholic, or whether I can do this or that, why don't we just circumvent all that with the philosophy of, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm not even going to fight that anymore. I'm just going to treat myself as I am an addict. Ego, pride, that other self, whatever it is, evil, devil, darkness. You know what? Fuck you, because I'm going to treat you and that less than personality that resides within me. I'm going to treat all that shit as if I was an addict and alcoholic. And then I'm going to find some ways that can actually move me forward and move me out of that. I'm going to quit having those less than thoughts of, well, I got this reason and I can justify that with this. Fuck all that. For all intents and purposes, I am an addict and alcoholic, and I don't need to be abusing substances because they're going to abuse me and kick my ass. So what if I begin to treat myself as if, so that I could find the potential in what could be if I remove myself from those less than behaviors? I love you guys, man. Start acting as if something was holding you back so that you could begin to find avenues and possibilities that could move you forward. I'll see you guys next episode.